Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. A district engineer from Batangas is now in police custody for allegedly bribing a congressman, now investigating flood control projects.
Meantime, President Marcos is beyond disappointed again, this time over a rockshed project in the province of Benguet, which he finds, quote, useless.
And the long weekend just got longer for government workers and students. No work and classes tomorrow, according to the Interior Department, because of the expected bad weather on Tuesday.
Nanuhol daw po kayo, sir, kay Congressman Leandro Leviste?
We should not tolerate any corruption in DPWH. We should demand projects at better quality and lower cost.
A district engineer of the Department of Public Works and Highways in Batangas is now in hot water for alleged bribery. He's actually now in jail after being caught in an entrapment operation last Friday. Batangas 1st District Congressman Leandro Leviste tipped off authorities to engineer Abelardo Calalo. Leviste claimed that Calalo tried to persuade him to drop the investigation into flood control projects in his district in exchange for cold cash. When Calalo was apprehended, he had with him some 3 million pesos in cash, allegedly the bribe money intended for Leviste. Calalo, who remains in PNP custody, has refused to comment on the allegation.
Engineer? Totoo po ba yung aligasyon po sa inyo na nanuhol po kayo kay Congressman Leviste? Pero sir, kayo na lang sir, nanuhol daw po kayo sir kay Congressman Leandro Leviste? Pero dinideny mo ba sir? Itinatanggi niyo po ba, sir?
Tomorrow, Congressman Leviste will be filing a case against Calalo at the Batangas Provincial Prosecutor's Office. The lawmaker also gave his assurance that corruption in DPWH projects in his district will stop under his watch.
We should not tolerate any corruption in DPWH. We should demand projects at better quality and lower cost. Beyond this case, we will push for broader reforms to address systemic problems of DPWH.
For its part, the DPWH has thrown its support behind the investigation on one of its district engineers, citing its commitment to transparency and integrity in public service. The DPWH has relieved Calalo from his post, and he has been placed under preventive suspension. The DPWH also issued a warning that those found engaged in any wrongdoing must face the full consequences of their actions. Meantime, the House Committee on Public Accounts said it may ask Congressman Leviste to provide further details about the incident. The committee is planning to include the matter in its probe on flood control projects.
And in related news, President Bongbong Marcos went up north over the weekend to inspect public works projects along Cannon Road. No ghost projects this time as what he discovered in Bulacan last week, but the chief executive was as disappointed over the quality of work on structures in Benguet province. Of particular interest to Mr. Marcos is a rock shed project worth 260 million pesos. The shed took more than 2 years to build, but there were still landslides and soil erosion around the area.
This is 260 million project. Useless. Parang tinapon mo yung pera sa ilog. Useless. To correct this will cost double that. Para ayusin yung binigay ninyong problema sa amin, it will cost another 260 million, probably double 260 million, hanggang 500 million na yan.
President Marcos also asked why the all-important road itself was almost gone.
Sa ilalim ng kalsada, which is the most important part, ay wala na. Talagang na-erode na. Dahil yung slope protection dito sa baba, sa tabi ng ilog, ay napakababa at napakahina.
The DPWH Cordilleras reply, slope protection was just not part of the project. But for the president, failed projects are simply tantamount to economic sabotage.
It's not only the damage, the physical damage that we can see, but it is also the damage to the economy. It is also the damage to the people's livelihood. Tinanggal sa kanila 35% ng kanilang hanap buhay para ibulsa ang pera ng gobyerno.
Aside from the rock shed, the president also inspected a rock netting project along another section of Cannon Road. Here, he explained how bad corruption has seeped into state-funded initiatives.
Napaka-notorious ng rock netting to as corruption, pinabawal na. Pero ginawa pa rin. Ang presyo ng rock netting is 3,200 pesos. Ang chinarge sa gobyerno is more than 12,000 pesos. So times 4. Times 4. So 75% ng kontrata kinikback.
And joining us again tonight to talk about these projects along Cannon Road and more, we have Baguio City Mayor Benji Magalong. Good evening, Mayor Magalong.
Good evening, Ces. Good evening, Sean, and good evening to our viewers. Thank you for having me.
You know, the RockNet, you've been talking about this for so long, and is it because of you that the president knew about this and wanted to inspect them?
Well, siguro may idea na rin si Presidente because the rock netting is not only, is concentrated in the Cordillera region. It's all over the Philippines. Marami rin lugar dyan sa Region 1. Meron dun sa Region 2 area, sa Mindanao, meron din mga rock netting project. Ganon din sa Region 4 area.
You were beside the president while he was giving his press conference, which led to speculation, Mayor, that you are going to be the next DPWH secretary. Well, not just speculation, but really some informed sources have been spreading this talk. Have you been also... have feelers been made?
Pati nga ako nagulat ako dyan sa biglang lumabas na yan. Dahil lang ba nakasuot ako ng hard hat at naka-jacket ako, bigla na sila. I was only invited. Tinuntahan ako ng PMS, sir, the president wants to talk to you. Please accompany him dyan sa kwan. Tinanong sa akin kung ano yung mga lugar na i-inspectin. Nagbigay ako ng mga listahan. So inuna namin yung rock shed. Pagkatapos next yung itong rock netting, including yung mga cat's eye, yung mga stud. Then may pinakita rin akong lugar sa siyudad ng Baguio na ito yung the road that leads to nowhere. Walang pupuntahan yung kalsada. Binanggit ko rin sa kanya yung mga project dyan sa UP na hindi matapos-tapos, dyan sa BGH. At ganoon na rin yung mga solar lights at yung mga roadside barrier na grabe rin ang markup sa mga prices niya. At nakorek ko rin sabi ko, sir, yung 12,000 po na binanggit nyo sa rock netting, actually po yan sa actual cost yan, sir, na binanggit ng NEDA according to their study. That's around 24,000 to 25,000. Sabi niya, maliit pa pala yung estimate ko.
Okay. Yung gumawa po nung RockNet, no, na lumabas din sa mga reports, Mayor Magalong, na previously the owner also ran for position there in Benguet under the President's Party, Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. Sabi naman niya, gumana naman daw kasi kung hindi pa daw siya nakatayo doon sa loob mismo ng rock shed. Ano pong masasabi natin doon?
Well, in fairness naman, yung purpose ng rock shed to shield, yung mga commuters, yung mga mob, yung mga vehicles from falling rocks, nako naman niya, na-achieve naman natin. Pero ang problema, yung design. Kasi bakit nagkaroon ng rock shed, pero bakit mahina yung pundasyon? Kaya nga nag-collapse. Bakit hanggang doon lang yung rock shed? Bakit hindi nila in-extend dito? Considering the fact na doon sa isang area na hindi nakoberan ng rock shed, vulnerable din yun. In fact, doon ang galing yung landslide, bumagsak, tapos tinamaan yung foundation, tapos mahina pa. Sa nakita nga ni Presidente, nung tinuro ko sa kanya yung gabion wall, sabi ko, sir, siguro maganda kung titingnan natin yung gabion wall na yan. Bakit ganyan? Sabi niya, oo nga, sabi niya, mukhang mahina. Bakit ganyan na nangyari dyan? So, talagang very disappointed siya, very frustrated. Maramdaman ko sa boses niya at alam mo, galit na galit siya.
Isa na po ba yun sa mga examples, Mayor, no? Nung sinasabi natin, medyo pinaparti-partisyon yung mga proyekto na dapat, kumbaga, mas comprehensive or isang malaking project kasama na yung, pag-reinforce ng kalsada sa ilalim, dun sa pagtayo ng rock shed, etc.
Well, yung mga binabanggit mo, Sean, this is to restrict alam mo kasi paborito ng mga kongresista, yung mga district engineer. At yung kanila, yung amount na pwede lang i-cover is from 50 million to 150 million. Kaya ang gagawin nila, hanggang doon lang para laging district engineer kasi ang laki ng influensya nila. But in this particular case, dito sa Rockshed, that's about 260. So ang nag-undertake niyan is the region.
Mayor, I'll go straight to the point because you had time with the president. Did you tell him where the corruption is emanating? You've been talking about this for so long, and the Vice President has already pinpointed that it's really the House Speaker and the Chairman of the Appropriations Committee that are behind the insertions to the budget.
Well, yes. Alam mo, we never discuss it. It's a very sensitive issue, but we never discuss it. Nabanggit ko lang na sa kanya na, sir, talagang malaki, sir, ang problema natin with Congress. No, sabi niya, yes, totoo yan, sabi niya sa akin. Alam mo, hindi mo naman pwede makipagkwentuhan ako dun sa ating presidente. Alam mo ko, very formal ako eh. At nahiya naman akong para akong nakikipagkwentuhan lang na parang barkada ko siya. So we really focus lang dun sa mga projects at talagang he was apektado yung mood niya sa galit niya eh. And ang binanggit niya sa akin eh, dapat bago matapos itong administrasyon ko, something needs to happen, sabi niya. Hindi ko basta-basta bibitawan ito. So I believe he's really meant, he was really determined to create a legacy talaga. Ito siguro magiging Marcos legacy, itong anti-corruption campaign. And it's aligned with our advocacy.
Well, we are in the third week of the President inspecting and getting upset. But what is the proper, di ba nag-volunteer na kayo, nag-suggest na kayo na kung paano dapat gawin tong investigation. And there's still no action towards that eh. Shouldn't we by this time already have some independent commission formed, or anyway, whatever body this is that will do an honest-to-goodness, credible investigation?
Well, ayoko naman paunahan ng ating presidente. No? Pero sa tingin ko, meron siyang strategy says eh. Okay. Probably we have a different approach. Iba yung approach ko sa akin is immediately a third party. Pero siguro, iba rin yung sa kanya. Gusto niyang i-validate lahat. Kaya siya umiikot, tinitignan niya. Alam mo, very busy talaga yung kanyang PMS eh. Nagulat nga ako na they're all over the country. Nagbabalidate sila. Tapos talagang pinupunta ni Presidente para sabi nga, nakita ko eh na he has a good grasp eh. Alam mo, pati yung mga technical terms, may dala-dala nga akong isang civil engineer na talagang isa siya sa mga nagdi-design dyan sa mga rock netting. At nung pinakita nga niya, explain niya kay Presidente na, tingnan mo sir, ito malleable to. Unlike yung mga European technology na hindi mo basta-basta sir mababali yan. Alam niya, pati yung mga terminologies, pati yung mga values, alam niya, nagulat nga ako sa kanya. So talagang siguro meron na talaga siyang knowledge and I believe meron siyang strategy. Hindi ko lang alam kung paano.
We'll just have to be a little more patient to await.
Oo nga. Pero Mayor, so wala talaga kayong na-turnover na mga pieces of evidence, any documentary evidence to the President, di talaga na-bring up at all, no, kung paano, anong road yung tatahakin nitong investigasyon?
Well, binigyan ko siya talaga ng briefer. Nandun lahat yung mga detailed unit price analysis, nandun yung mga pictures din. Pinag-compare ko yung mga yung mga presyo. Binanggit ko rin sa kanya yung mga ibang mga projects. Alam mo, hindi ko pa nga nabanggit sa kanya na meron kaming nakikitang isang ghost project na solar lights. Nagulat nga kami na same place, same area, same span doon sa road, pero iba yung title. Tapos iba rin yung solar lights din, pero iba yung dimension ng lights. Pero nung pinuntahan namin, sabi namin, wala namang pagkakaiba. Yun pa rin. Kaya pinag-aaralan namin mabuti. Bala ko sanang banggitin kay Presidente pero hindi ko pa masyadong na-validate. Kaya better na siya at tahimik na lang muna ako dito. In due time, i-raise ko niya. Sabi niya kasi sa akin, Benji, anytime, you just give me a call at ipadala mo sa akin. Kung may nakawa ka mga ebidensya, padala mo kaagad sa akin. If you need anything, kasi ang isa sa mga problema namin na binanggit ko sa kanya, sir, wala pong transparency in DPWH. Every time we ask documents, wala po. Bibigay po kami, wala bibigay sa amin. They even ignore us when we ask for a hearing. Let us say we invited them sa City Council. They ignore us and they won't attend. Parang meron silang sariling republic. Tapos tama-tama naman si Mayor ng Tuba, kasama ko siya, no? Si Mayor Clarita, binanggit rin niya na talagang walang konsultasyon. Every time na may mga project ang kongresista at DPWH, we're not consulted. There's no public engagement. And this is not only the sentiment of mayors in the Cordilleras. This is actually a common sentiment among all the mayors all over the country. Kasi ako naman na secretary dati ako secretary general at nagsusumbong sa akin yung mga mayors. At ganun din na rin yung mayors for good governance.
So,
ganun din.
Totoo pala yun, Mayor, kasi may mga governors na kaming nakausap. Ang sabi nga nila, pati daw yung mga mayor nila, walang idea na may gagawin yung national government ng mga proyekto. So totoo yun na hindi kailangan kumuha na ng permit. Kasi nabanggit rin po ni President Marcos na gusto niyang ibalik yung sistema na yon na kailangan magpaalam muna doon sa local government bago mag-undertake ng proyekto.
Nung binanggit nga namin sa kanya, nagalit siya, kaya nga binanggit niya yun eh. And then, alam mo, pati yung GRASP niyan, binanggit ko lang sa kanya, sir, there's a reduction of 35%. Kasi katatapos lang namin, I met with the Tourism Council kasi bumagsak ngayon namin tourism. And we were able to determine around 35%. In passing lang, binanggit ko sa kanya. Pero tingnan mo kagad, nag-GRASP niya kagad, binanggit niya kagad yun, economic sabotage. Kaya this is something na very, sabi ko nga sa iyo, walang konsultasyon sa amin. Basta kung ano naisip nilang gagawin, bahala sila. Kami ang nakakaalam kung anong kailangan ng aming syudad o aming municipality. But walang konsultasyon. Kung ano yung gusto nilang project, for some reason, hindi ko alam kung bakit yun ang naisip nila na hindi naman kailangan gagawin na. Katulad yung road that leads to nowhere. Biglang gumawa ng kalsada doon, multi-million, hundreds of millions pesos, multi-year. Para saan yun? Pati nga si Presidente, para saan yan? Para saan yan, sabi niya.
Sino ba yung nakatira sa dulo, sir? Di ba sabi ni Secretary Singson, farm to my resort. Ano? Road, ano?
Farm to resort road. To my resort road.
Or road to my farm.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Alam nyo, napapasekretary ako eh. Pero Mayor, when did the system change? Because in our conversation with Secretary Singson, during his time, the bidding was transparent, and they would inform the local government units of the projects that they are undertaking. This is your third term. Did the system change from your first term in office?
Well, I learned from Secretary Singson, and I observed that as well. Binabanggit niya sa akin na during the time na siya yung secretary, hindi makaporma yung mga kongresista na yan. Hindi sila pwedeng mamili kung sino yung gusto nilang district engineer o kaya regional director. Pero nung nag-take over ako as mayor in 2019, nagulat ako na katabi ko yung kongresista, katabi ko yung DPWH. At meron ako sinadya sa DPWH. Nag-a-approve, nagulat ako. Nag-a-approve, bakit itong kongresista nag-a-approve? Sabi ko, ikausap ko yung DPWH. Sabi ko, hindi pwede yan kasi ito tapos na yan eh. Pwede bang ganito? At tapos nung isipin mo gano'n, no? Bakit nag-a-approve ang kongresista eh? Tamang babatas naman yun. Kaya doon ko nalaman na gano'n pala. Ito pala system.
Sa inspection ninyo, Mayor Magalong, with the President, ilang proyekto po yung in-inspection na ninyo? Out of curiosity lang.
Nakailang?
Projects po yung in-inspect ninyo with the President?
Are you referring to ilan nung na-inspect namin?
Yes. Yes po.
Yes. Alam mo, marami pa sana kaming papa-inspect ng mga rock netting, ano? Pero yung pinaka-safest na lang para sa kanya, baka mahulugan pa siya, kaya kinakabahan din kami. Kaya isang lugar lang, patapos pati yung cat's eye, nakita yung cat's eye nga, nagulat siya na ganun pala yung presyo. No? Nagulat siya, ito naman, nawala na naman yung mood. Kaya ako nagkuha na rin ako Kumbaga, naglalaylo na rin ako magbanggit pa sa kanya ng ibang mga anomalies kasi nakikita mo talaga na naapektuhan siya because he's just so passionate about it.
Okay, well,
Kasi marami pong nag-o-observe yung galit ni Presidente, bakit nakatawa pa rin? You know, some of those criticizing. Pero dito talagang nakikita niyong talagang galit na talaga.
Yeah, sometimes tatawa siya kasi sort of sarcastic lang.
Yeah.
Dinadaan na lang niya sa tawa. No?
Yeah.
Nakikita mo
Parang ridiculous na yung the brazenness of it is matatawa ka na lang siguro.
Sarcasm na lang siguro niya yun. Yung ganun ba? Tapos dinadaan niya. Pero pag ina-explain ko na sa kanya, nakita mo talaga na hindi siya nag-i-smile talaga. Tapos papakunot na lang.
And I just wanted to get your thoughts, Mayor, dun sa nagyari over the weekend. Yun nga, yung DPWH-DE na sumubok mag-bribe kay Batangas Representative Lian Leviste. Ano pong na-feel ninyo nung nabalitaan nyo yun?
Sean, it's a common practice among district engineers, probably some of the regional engineers. Lalapitan nila, lalo-lalo na kung mga bagong kongresista. Lalapitan nila, Kong, meron ka ritong 2.8 billion. Siguro, I'll just advance to you yung kami ng bahala. We're going to give you 20% advance. Kung mahina yung integrity ng kongresista, can you just imagine 20%, that's about 500 plus, 560 million. Lalaki na yung mata niya, lalo na pag sinabing i-advance na namin sa'yo, di-deliver namin sa'yo. So, ang nangyayari dyan, pag pumayag na yung kongresista, meron pa siyang siguro, sabi niya, Kung yung 10% or 15% mo, i-deliver na lang after the project. So what happens is that the district engineer, meron na pala siyang sariling company na, alam mo na, very discreet. Siya na pala yung contractor. So siya nang gagawa ng plano, siya na rin ang magde-design, siya na rin ang magpapabid, siya na rin ang magbibid, siya na rin ang mag-i-implement, siya na rin ang maniningil, siya na rin ang tatanggap ng sisingil. Ganon nga sisingilin. Ganon talaga yung sistema dyan. It's structural, it's systematic, it's a highly organized crime.
But we actually saw it in practice in the case of Congressman Leviste. And since, nagkaroon
parang barya lang yung 3 million, sa totoo lang. Yung sinasabi niyong amount, 500 million.
Parang down payment pa lang kasi yun, di ba? Bibigay sa
ba?
kanya parang 300 million. But since may use case na, Mayor, what do you hope, to happen next? Since may tumumba ng isang DE, do you think, how can we take advantage of this na nagyari na ito?
Well, vigilance, alam mo, diyan mo malalaman na marami rin palang talagang maayos na mga kongresista. At sana wag silang ma-influence ng mga, alam mo na, yung mga batikan, yung mga trapo na kasamahan nila dyan sa kongreso. Sana.
So dun po sa mga project na in-inspect ninyo dyan sa Cordillera, ano ang next step? So kailangan ayusin yung rock shed na yon, kailangan palakasin yung foundation, uulitin?
Well, talagang challenging. Kailangan talaga magkaroon ng study. In-depth study how they're going to do it. So talagang magkakaroon yung geotechnical study, talagang siguro kukuha na lang ng isang third party to really come up with a more objective study about, kasi talagang nasira yung slope protection .
So Cannon Road will be closed for...
Hindi naman.
No.
It's not. May one-way siya. One-way siya, pero very, very limited lang sa type of vehicles siya. At kung minsan, off and on, lalo na kung may malakas na ulan, close kagad dyan, automatic close kagad dyan. Kasi nahuhulog . Alam mo nga, bago mag-inspect si Presidente, may mga nahulog pa bato the day before . May mga nagsisitakbuhan yung mga PSG .
Matagal na nga problema yan ng Cannon Road. Maliit pa po ako, lagi po may mga landslide warning, beware falling rocks po, at minsan natatakot nga ako tumingin. Who do you think should undertake that plan, no? Para talagang once and for all, comprehensively maaral na from Camp 7 to Camp 1, and that they can really fix it para magamit na talaga, na hindi yung patsi-patsi.
Alam mo, Sean, I'm really glad that you mentioned that because so much money was poured into to Cannon Road. At looking at the entire budget na nagamit diyan, dapat Class A na yan o baka Super Class A na yan. Pero tingnan mo itsura niya, para siyang provincial road. Ganyan katindi, ginawa siyang milking cow. But, you mentioned about the comprehensive. There's already a master plan. In fact, nagkaroon nga yan ng roadshow yan Pati yung ang mga recommendations nga dyan, gagawa ng mga tunnels para talagang maiwasan na itong mga erosions na ito. Pero at the end, matindi nga yung roadshow na ginawa yan. I think about 6 months o 8 months na ginawa yan at ang daming nagsubmit ng mga proposal. Pero I was even part of that roadshow, nag-attend ako. Pero after that, wala na nangyari. Hindi na rin natuloy. Tapos bigla nang umusbong yung mga rock netting dyan.
Kanino po yung master plan, Mayor?
With the TPWH. It was TPWH Central Office ang nag-conduct na roadshow.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, we should have a third party to look over this master plan. Parang nawalan na ng credibility for me as an ordinary citizen. Ang DPWH, I mean, right now, zero credibility. Tama?
Well, alam mo, talagang matindi ang, ibig sabihin, the morale is low. Kausap ko yung ibang mga engineers talagang walang tiwala sa mga kasamahan nila sa region, especially yung top management sa kanilang regional offices o sa kanilang mga distrito. At nagugulat din sila na maraming plano na cut and paste. Sila mismo nagsasabi puro cut and paste. Kaya ganyan sila nangyayari na parang pare-pareho ang presyo pero iba-iba naman yung operating environment. Iba naman yung situation doon.
Right.
Gugulat din sila.
Wow. The President has a big task ahead. Well, thank you very much, Mayor and Secretary.
Thank you very much, Cesar.
For joining us in the big story. That was Baguio City Mayor Benji Magalong. In other news, telco players are now looking at a more active role in drafting the implementing rules and regulations of the Konektadong Pinoy Bill, which lapsed into law on August 24. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro made the confirmation without giving further details. President Marcos did not take any action on the bill since it was transmitted to Malacanang on July 24. The law aims to improve internet access by allowing new players to enter the data transmission sector without the need to secure a legislative franchise and certificate of public convenience and necessity. But the Philippine Chamber of Telecommunications Operators has lodged objections over the bill. In June, PCTO President and Globe General Counsel Froilan Castelo said Konektadong Pinoy would open the door for unregulated infrastructure and potential foreign control. He added that new players will not be subjected to strict regulation, unlike industry giants. For former DICT Undersecretary Jeffrey Ian D., Section 16 of the bill, which tackles oversimplification, poses the biggest risk.
They are forcing the infrastructure of these people to share to new entrants. That is the oversimplification. That is Section 16. You build your own house. And then suddenly government comes in and tell you, you know what? We want to boost tourism. So we want all with their own houses to open up a rent through Airbnb for at least one room in their house. That's what happened here. So that's the major concern. And remember that not all telecommunications providers are created equal in terms of cost, investment, in fact, even in security investment.
Meantime, in an interview with Money Talks, DICT Secretary Henry Aguda said that all telco players, whether industry giants or new ones, can submit recommendations in drafting the IRR. The agency aims to release the final IRR in 60 days.
New players, they are welcome to submit their white paper. And I receive white paper left and right. But I think it is just naman appropriate na kung sino yung current operating telcos, they have a stronger say and participation. Kasi apektado yung negosyo nila eh. So, if you're asking me, meron na bang foreign telco na nag-express ng interest to help out in the IRR? Meron, but they're limited to submitting their white paper and will do public hearing.
Converge CEO Dennis Anthony Uy has expressed support for the bill, while Globe has doubled down on its opposition. As for PLDT, Chief Legal Counsel Joan De Venecia Fabul said it is seeking a seat in the table in firming up the IRR to address security and spectrum concerns. But senior legal advisor to the chair, Marilyn Victorio Aquino, left open the possibility of a Supreme Court challenge. PLDT and Signal, the owner of this channel, are both part of the MVP group of companies. We're going to be taking a quick break, but still to come. President Bongbong Marcos takes another swipe at so-called corrupt officials in his National Heroes Day message. The details when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back to the big story. President Bongbong Marcos was at the forefront of the National Heroes Day commemoration at Libingan ng mga Bayani this morning. Together with Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Defense Secretary Gibo Chodoro, Army Chief General Antonio Nafarrete, and PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III, the President offered flowers to the tomb of the unknown soldier. In his speech, he said there is a new enemy, those who corrupt and abuse power.
Kailangan din natin labanan ang banta ng katiwalian at pang-aabuso sa kapangyarihan ng ating lipunan. Dahil hindi lamang salapi ang kanilang ninanakaw, kundi pati ang kalusugan, pangarap at kinabukasan ng mga susunod na henerasyon na Pilipino.
Marcos added that mockery of the system should no longer be disregarded because repeatedly it takes a toll on society. He insisted on the importance of vigilance and disclosing the truth.
Bilang Pilipino, may pananagutan tayo sa ating bansa na maging mas mapanuri sa mga mali, na isiwalat ang panluloko at panindigan ang alam nating tama kahit hindi ito madali.
The President likewise promised that heads will definitely roll over failed and ghost flood control projects.
Pananagot din namin ang lahat ng sangkot sa anomalya at katiwalian. Ilalabas natin ang buo at pawang katotohanan at titiyakin natin hindi na mauulit ang kawalan ng respeto at malasakit sa taong bayan. Kaya't magtulong-tulong tayo upang labanan ng korupsyon, labanan ng pag-aabuso sa tungkulin, labanan ang pagyurak sa ating karapatan.
Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte focused on society's new heroes. In her message today, she gave credit to the armed forces who face dangers every day to ensure the safety of communities. She also paid homage to teachers, doctors, nurses, and other frontline workers, as well as to overseas Filipino workers who she said sacrifice so much for family and country. The VP also hailed other modern-day heroes. And good news to our OFWs. The Department of Migrant Workers said it is hiking the standard minimum wage for domestic helpers abroad from $400 US. The lowest wage will now be $500 US or more than 28,000 pesos. This is under their 8-part reform package for OFWs. And joining us to talk about this is DMW Secretary Hans Kakdak. Good evening to you, Secretary.
Good evening to you, Ms. Cels, and to your televiewers. Good evening to all.
Well, this is long overdue, but how will it be implemented? Through the manning agencies and recruitment agencies?
Yeah, it's fairly simple. Documentation of employers or accreditation of employers and documentation of workers goes through the Department of Migrant Workers. So this includes their contracts, the work contracts, and more particularly the work contracts of domestic workers, which would be the most regulated job category of all. They are the most vulnerable in terms of skill sets of domestic workers. They are the most protected by ILO and international conventions. We are a signatory to every significant convention protecting our domestic workers. So, in line with international labor standards, with a clear directive of the president to protect our OFWs, more particularly our domestic workers, then we have this 8-point reform program or reform measures, and we are bent on implementing the same through our regulatory powers.
I'm curious, no, Secretary Kakdak, this is Sean pala. How do you...
Hi, Ms. Sean.
Yes. How do you go about implementing this? Meron bang dialogue muna with the countries where we send our OFWs to before we can make this happen? Or do they just have to sign a paper that we send to them that, okay, this is the new minimum?
Well, the discussions are on various levels. When it comes to bilateral discussions, labor relations, or labor diplomacy, if you will, of course, in full coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs, then you can have the high level or technical level consultations, which has been happening since the president instructed us to heighten our bilateral labor relations with countries hosting OFWs. So there's been a discussion. There have been times and occasions where I myself have raised this to my foreign counterparts over the last 6 months or year or so. Now, the second level of this will be the matter on implementation, or on the matter of a deeper understanding between our country and countries hosting OFWs on how this will be carefully implemented. And more than this, if there could be any other measures, several other measures that can be adopted over and above the 8-point agenda. So, for instance, we are slated to have talks in the very near future with Qatar and Kuwait. So these are among the countries that we are slated to discuss in the very near future. But of course, all the other countries hosting OFWs or our domestic workers will also be engaged on the matter. So first and foremost, as you mentioned, it's the 400 to 500 US dollar minimum monthly wage increase. But more than that, there are many other components, right? 8-point agenda. So that includes what we call the Know Your Employer requirement, which is a video interview prior to departure para kilala na ng ating domestic worker kung sino yung magiging employer niya, and vice versa. Meron tayong reskilling, upskilling of standards. Ito, very important, so that there's no such thing as a recruitment trap for domestic workers, meaning female job applicants are not just stuck with one job offer, that is to be a domestic worker. So they could upskill to other types of work, whether it could be caregiving, it could be barista work, it could even be technical work or welding. No, there are many female welders. It could be office work or hospitality work, and all these other types of skill sets. And then there was a Kamusta Kabayan helpline. Hindi na kami tatawagan ngayon. Kami na ang mga ngamusta sa mga domestic workers. And we've been piloting this over the last few months with a few host countries already. And then we will also have annual medical checkups for our OFWs. First phase of this will be on a voluntary basis. And then once our budget comes in, then we will invoke this and post this on a mandatory level. There will be stricter standards for accommodation of recruitment agencies, whether local or foreign. There will be a whitelisting across the board. This has been implemented anyway since the time of Secretary Toots Ople, but merely reiterated. And of course, the rights-based approach, something as basic as non-confiscation of passports, observance of contracts, non-substitution of contracts, we will crack down and be strict on these matters. Because, for instance, in non-confiscation of passports, you'll be surprised. Even host countries have laws prohibiting non-confiscation of passports, but we still hear stories of these violated left and right.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask, kung first level is the talks and second level is the implementation, is there a third level which is enforcement, and how we can make sure that these rules are actually being followed by everybody?
Yes, of course. The DMW has regulatory authority to regulate the licenses or to impose disciplinary action on the licenses of recruitment agencies here, as well as the accreditation of employers and recruitment agencies abroad. Meaning to say, kapag nag-violate sila ng laws natin or principle or rules and regulations such as the 8-point agenda on domestic work protection, then we will not process the documents of a particular employer, local or foreign recruitment agency. And then of course, for the local recruitment agency, there are even criminal or penalties if they violate such rules and regulations. So it's not just administrative in nature, but criminal as well.
Now, Secretary, before we let you go, may we have an update on the situation for our Filipinos in Israel, in Gaza, in the middle of the conflict?
Well, right now there's a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. We know that, but we are still closely monitoring the situation. We are of course working with SecTes, Lazaro, and the DFA in terms of monitoring the situation in Gaza. The conflict, the matter on the Red Sea, with the Houthis still being attacked and the Houthis also attacking the Israelis in turn. So we are still monitoring this situation. Of course, we have 9 who are currently held by the Houthis, and we're still hoping and praying for their safe release very soon. Working closely with the DFA along these lines, and we have repatriated nearly 4,000 already since Hamas invaded Israel in October 7, 2023. 4,000 repatriated between Israel, Lebanon, Gaza, and the West Bank.
And hopefully they're doing well here with the assistance from the various agencies.
Oh yes, upon their arrival, the president since day one, the president convened us all and said there shall be a whole of government approach in terms of helping those who are on site and those who return. And so, as I said, 4,000 have been ably protected and safely returned, nearly 4,000. And of course, the whole of government approach ready to receive them here. So I mean DMW, OWA, DFA, DOH, DSWD, TESDA, and the DOLE.
All right, we thank you for talking to us, DMW
Thank you.
Secretary Hans Kakdak. Now we'll be pausing for another break, but after that, defense officials give an update on efforts to fend off Chinese troops swarming Ayungin Shoal. Those stories and more when we return. You're watching The Big Story in One News. The Big Story is back with an announcement from the DILG. No classes and work for several areas in the country tomorrow. Because of the expected inclement weather on Tuesday, August 26, the DILG has suspended classes in all levels, public and private, as well as work in government offices in Metro Manila, Aurora, Quezon, Rizal, Laguna, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Albay, Sorsogon, Catanduanes, Masbate, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Leyte, and Southern Leyte. And before 7 this evening, the DILG has also suspended classes and government work in Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Batangas, and Cavite. And at this point, let's get the latest weather update from Pag-asa weather specialist, Obet Padrina. Good evening, Obet. Welcome to The Big Story. Go ahead with your update on the weather.
Good evening, especially to all our viewers. So as of 3 p.m., we're still monitoring a low-pressure area. It's located, based on all available data, around 130 kilometers east-northeast of Borongan City in the province of Eastern Samar. We're expecting this low-pressure area to continue to move northwest, and it will bring a cloudy skies with scattered rains, particularly in the areas of Cordillera, Cagayan Valley, as well as Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Bicol, Northern Mindanao, Caraga, and Visayas, most parts of Visayas, including Metro Manila. So we can still expect tomorrow a generally cloudy weather with some moderate to at times heavy rains, due to this low pressure area. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon will continue to affect the western part of the country, particularly the areas of Zamboanga Peninsula, Barm, Soc-Sorgen, Mimaropa, and the province of Antique. The remaining part of the country will continue to experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. We're still advising the public, especially on the possibility of flash floods and landslides, particularly in those areas where the low pressure area and the southwest monsoon are currently affecting or will affect in the next few days. Based also on our latest data, this low pressure area has still low probability of development, at least in the next 24 to 48 hours, of becoming a tropical depression. But still, we can still expect that it will dampen some rains, from moderate to at times heavy in those areas.
Do we have
And currently also, we don't have a gale warning, meaning sea vessels are allowed to travel in our coast. Yes, ma'am?
Obet, do we have an estimate of the rainfall that will be pouring down on us?
Yeah. So Pag-asa also issued a weather advisory, and currently some areas, particularly in the Bicol region, will receive around 50 to 100 millimeter of rain, including some parts of Central Luzon, particularly in Bulacan, including also Rizal area. So we're looking at the possibility of 50 to 100 millimeter rains. So that's equal to around heavy to possible intense rains.
Okay. Is it strong? Is it strong enough, no? And will it be habagat types of rains, Obet? Kasi nag-announce na ng maraming walang pasok para tomorrow because of bad weather.
Yes. Actually, based on our models and the data that we are using right now, we're not expecting the same habagat episode like what happened in July, especially that we're only looking at the effect of the low pressure area. However, there's still possibilities of the localized thunderstorm or some thunderstorms that may bring moderate to at times heavy rain. Sometimes po this is the one causing sudden flash floods, particularly in those flood-prone areas.
Because just last week, the 50 to 100 millimeter rainfall already caused so much flooding in Metro Manila.
Yes po. So possible po we can still expect some areas in Metro Manila that may receive the same amount, particularly if there's a localized thunderstorms.
Okay. Tapos wala pang panangga yung mga flood control, kaya mabuti na lang walang pasok.
Yes po. Although, yun nga po, we're expecting na it's different from the habagat episode that we experienced last month. Kasi last month we have a tropical cyclone. Ito po kasi since it's just a low pressure area, we're not expecting na tuloy-tuloy, o yung tuloy-tuloy po, continuous na heavy rains. We're expecting po at least mga 1 to 2 hours na heavy rains. Yun nga lang po, some areas kahit po 1 to 2 hours lang na heavy rains, minsan nagkakos po yun ng mga flash floods.
Right. And like you said earlier, you don't expect this to become a tropical depression?
At least in the next 24 to 48 hours, because we're expecting it to move northwest, and eventually it may traverse the areas of Central Luzon until it reaches the West Philippine Sea. So possible when it reaches the West Philippine Sea, it may develop into a tropical depression. But still, the uncertainty is still high considering the current movement of the low pressure area.
Hopefully it doesn't. But are there other weather systems you're observing?
So aside from this low pressure area and the southwest monsoon, as of now, at least outside the Philippine area of responsibility, we're not monitoring any significant weather system.
This is different from the low pressure area that was being monitored last week in the area of Mindanao. What happened to that one?
If I'm not mistaken, I think this is still the same low pressure area. It entered the Philippine area of responsibility around Saturday.
And moved northward.
Yes, and it moved actually northwest. Northwestward.
Hopefully it doesn't become a tropical depression. Thank you for your weather update, Obet Padrina of Pag-asa. Now moving on to another story, the Armed Forces of the Philippines says they have successfully driven off Chinese Coast Guard personnel from Ayungin Shoal. That's as Beijing forces tried to steer close to BRP Sierra Madre, a Philippine vessel that serves as a military outpost. Sierra Madre was deliberately grounded in disputed waters to ward off foreign incursions. According to AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner, the situation in Ayungin is getting back to normal after reports last week of increased Chinese presence in the area. Fishing nets laid by China to block so-called intruders have been removed.
The situation is improving. We have been successful in pushing the Chinese intrusions into the shoal itself. So successful tayo na naitulak natin yung mga Chinese.
However, Chinese vessels still enclose the area around the shoal. Right now, the AFP can only hope the next rotation and resupply mission would be more peaceful and orderly.
They have a constant presence in that area. Pero malayo naman, no? Malayo. At least we were successful in pushing them outward. Pareho pa rin yung preparations natin for the resupply mission because we believe that the agreement that was set by the Department of Foreign Affairs and their Chinese counterparts still stand, no? Kaya we are optimistic na pagdating sa time na mag-resupply tayo ay re-respetuhin nila yung ating resupply mission.
In any eventuality, the AFP Western Command assures it's always ready to assist our troops in Ayungin.
Nakausap ko sila and they are in high spirits despite yung nangyari. They're practically doing the routine. And kung ano yung pinatatrabaho natin doon, ginagawa nila. We are always on alert.
For his part, Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro reiterated the commitment to defend our sovereignty, whatever China says and does with regard to the West Philippine Sea.
Wala. To change our stance will be to the grave detriment of our national interest. That is something nobody can do under our Constitution and our moral obligation. Obligasyon natin sa taong bayan. Hindi pwede magpalit at kaya matindi rin ang salita ni Presidente. Hindi talaga tayo pwede kumompromiso ng national interest natin.
And on a much lighter note, history or her story was made at the US Open. Our very own Alex Ayala stunned the world number 14 in the opening round of the tournament in New York this Sunday. Here's that winning moment of our tennis ace.
I think everything just made it so special from who I was playing, a really good player. First round, the first main draw US Open. Coming back from an injury, and obviously all of the people who watched today, the crowd was amazing. So I think everything in general just made the atmosphere so exciting, but at the same time so tense. So that's also part of why I'm so happy.
So proud of her.
Goosebumps. And on National Heroes Day, no less.
Tama.
That we're celebrating.
And well-deserved millions, Alex. Thank you for, giving us this shining moment on National Heroes Day. That's the big story this Monday. Thank you for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
And we'll see you here back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.